Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I have a comic book mail day, sort of a collection update. I have not posted a lot of just my comic book pickups lately because I've been wanting to accumulate some of them to kind of show them all off at one time. So we're going to start here with some Silver Age goodness. Now, my goal for the year was to add at least one Amazing Spider-Man from numbers 1 through 10. And so this one doesn't quite qualify. This is number 14. It is the first appearance of Green Goblin. And so it's a pretty big book. And it's a 3.0 off-white pages. But what I like about it is the cover is really solid. Now, I'm very precariously positioned here with my camera and everything. So I'm hoping not to knock anything over. But I want to show off the book a little bit. And again, there's glare and reflection, so I'm sorry, but it's as good as I got, guys. I'm not in a professional studio here. Just trying to show you how nice this book is for a 3.0. And for people who know me, I mean, I definitely like books that are, present really well. And sometimes I am, a little bit of a grade snob. But this one definitely, for the price point, just how nice this cover is, I was really shocked for the grade. I'm really happy with this condition for this book. It really pops. I mean, look at the color of this book for a 3.0. So I'm very happy to get this really key book. It's, Green Goblin is the Spider-Man villain outside of Venom that you really think of him, and especially with the story arcs he had. Really happy to finally get this book in the collection. So again, we're going to stick with Silver Age to start with. Try not to knock anything over. So the next book isn't quite as important as the last one. But it definitely is a really cool book. Again, I'm trying not to knock anything over. But this book is Spider-Man 59, Amazing 59, 1968. And it's the first Mary Jane Watson cover. Now, it's a 9.2, which is pretty high grade for this book. Off-white to white pages, 9.2. Again, Spider-Man 59, so still early 60s book. Silver Age fun. And it's got a nice go-go dance and Mary Jane on the cover. So some books that I'm going to be showing you here that I've never owned before. So it's pretty fun to show off some books I've never actually owned. And the next one I actually sold last year. I had a copy that was, I believe, a 7.5. So this is a little bit of a downgrade from that. This is a Silver Surfer number 1. This is a 6.5. Off-white to white. Again, from 68. So again, sticking with that Silver Age goodness. Again, Silver Surfer number 1 is, I think, one of those classic cover books that people just love. I'm a big fan of any number 1s, even if they're not first appearances. It's just, Iron Man 1, Silver Surfer 1, Daredevil 1 is a first appearance. So, but Amazing 1, Spider-Man 1, not first appearances, but still key books. Silver Age is definitely where I've been spending my time on. So this is, feeds right into it. Again, and replaces a book I sold last year. So I definitely need to keep one of these on my collection and not keep selling these books, but they're very popular. So when you go to shows, if you bring one, you're going to sell one. Next up is a book that I've always wanted to own. I've never got around to it, but with the prices coming down, I felt like I could, afford to get this book now. I'm really happy I did because it's a beautiful copy of this book. It's a 7.5, Fantastic Four 52, which is the first appearance of Black Panther, T'Challa. So this is definitely a huge key book. It's from 1966. It's a 7.5, off-white to white. Beautiful cover. And I'll show you the cover a little bit closer. You can see really nice. It's a pretty good spine. I mean, if you look at it, try to get under some light here that's not so glary. It's hard with these cases. But it is a very nice copy. Again, it has some of the Marvel chippiness at the top. but not much. And, again, I think this is a nice grade for this book. This is exactly the kind of condition I'd want this book in. And this is obviously a pretty major key for a Marvel collection from Silver Age. All right, that's the Silver Age books. The next book is going to be Golden Age, and I normally lead off with Golden Age, but I didn't this time because I wanted to show two books back to back. A big Alex Schomburg collector, and I'm with the Schomburg collection. I'm down to books that are really expensive, the ones I really want. So I only pick up about one every quarter. So I pick about 4 or 5 Schomburg books a year that I really want to collect. And here's one. I've loved this cover for a long time. And I'm really happy I finally pulled the trigger on one of these. Here we go. Startling Comics, number 53. This is, I think, one of the underrated covers from Schomburg. Honestly, you don't see it very often. I'm just going to tell you, I see a lot more of the Wonder Comics covers that have, let's say the woman in red or just female figures on them than I do Startling. Especially this book. This book is special to me because it's telling a very good story. In the images, it's got it's got the cool spaceship in the background, which for anyone who understands Schomburg, he was a very meticulous craftsman when it comes to like military craft. In fact, he did a lot of covers for magazines later on depicting military vehicles. So he drew spaceships and things like that very meticulously. So it has a cool spaceship on it. It has these fun little octopus Cthulhu like aliens that they're fighting. Great depiction of a female on the cover. So it's got a lot going on for it. It's a 6.5, which is a very nice grade for a book from 1948. So again, it's just, one of the really, really cool books, but it's also the last issue of Startling Comics. So it's got Schomburg, it's got the aliens, it's got the rocket, it's got the female, Airbrush Schomburg, last issue. A lot of stuff going on for this book that makes it so cool. Now, the book I'm going to show next is a modern book. It's from 1983. But I just want to show it to you to give you, kind of like an idea of how artists, I think are inspired. And this is a book from Dave Stevens, right? Alien Worlds, number 4. And to me, you cannot look at these two books and not think that Dave Stevens drew inspiration from Alex Schomburg and Golden Age covers. I just think, and I think he actually says it in interviews that, those kind of Alex Schomburg, covers, like that inspired his covers like that. It's just, it's what, he drew as inspiration. Artists that he really enjoyed in these covers. And Dave Stevens has talked about, he was a big pinup girl fan, and his art is designed for a lot of people to be around this idea of a pinup, girl type art. So to me, it makes a lot of sense, but I just wanted to show those two back to back to say, definitely Dave Stevens was inspired by a book like that. Alex Schomburg, Startling Comics 53. Both books are amazing. This Alien Wars number 4 is a 9.8 white pages. It's a beautiful book. I like Dave Stevens. It's like if you collect L.B. Cole, Alex Schomburg, Matt Baker, you're going to get in eventually into Dave Stevens, and then later on, Adam Hughes. And so, these are the artists that kind of all have a little bit of cheesecake in them, but to me, they make beautiful artwork too. So that makes it, more fun. Now, these 3 books are part of my variant collection, and for people who don't like variants, you'll be, probably not like this part, but these 3 are variants that are very important in my opinion. Well, the first one is sort of just a fun variant. It's a book I've wanted for a long time, and I just mentioned him, Adam Hughes. So this is Thor 700. It's a variant cover. It's, I just think it's one of those covers that has got a lot of heat during the Thor movies, especially I believe the second or third one, um, where this character was the antagonist of the whole movie. But then it kind of cooled off. This book also was, I think, found in those Five Below packs when that was a big deal. So this book was kind of like up and down. So I've let it cool off as much as I possibly could, and I bought it. I thought it had a good price, and I still like the artwork. And it's just something different from Adam Hughes. But there you can see on this cover, I talked about the kind of smiling, laughing female art. And in this instance, it works because of the character and sort of like how it's depicted. Sometimes I'm not as into that as much as other times. So this time it works. I've always wanted this cover. It's from from 2017, so it's 6 years old. So I think like that starting in 2011, 2012, when variants got really popular and big. Um, now they're so common they get mass produced. But I'm just going to say that the first book I'm going to show you is one of the rarest books I've ever tried to find. It's got a lot of meaning to me from just the just depiction on the front, but it's a hard book to find. It is super rare. I don't know. The census is, I think, at one time was below 15 on this book as far as graded. So it's a ghost in the marketplace. And so when they come up for sale, they do sell very high. So I actually paid more for the first book than I did for the second book, and you won't believe me, but it's true. So here we go. First book. All right. I know a lot of you guys are scratching your head. You're like, what? So this is Fearless Defenders, number 4, the Stephanie Hahn's variant. So it's a Native American cover. So I collect Native American comic books and cards. So to me, this is like one of the coolest, probably the best cover that Danny Moonstar's ever been on. And Stephanie Hahn just killed it. But this book is super hard to find. I spent 3 years looking for it, and finally, and there was one on eBay, and someone hit the buy now on it, and it was like $1,700. And so this one came up, and I won it in an auction. And so I paid a lot of money for it. And but I was glad to, because I know just how hard they are to get. I researched the heck out of it. I looked at, I talked to other collectors. I talked to Stephanie herself about this book. I try to do as much research because I just want to make sure that it's truly rare and hard to find. And it's not one of those books that is just not popular, so you don't see it. It's truly rare, and it is very rare. Now, with the cover image so strong, if it was not rare, I think you would just see it come up for sale more often. The fact that the last 2 sales are well over $1,000 on this book in a 9.8 would mean that they would come out of the woodwork if people had them. So I just feel like this book is just one of those rarities that you don't see very often. Now, if 10 more came on eBay tomorrow, and the prices would go down, because there's probably not as many Moonstar collectors out there. But Stephanie Hahn's has got a pretty damn big following. She does great artwork, and I'm very excited about any of her artwork. So I want to share it with you. I'm super happy to get it. This was probably my number 1 variant want list for in the last 3 years. So I would pick this book over any other variant comic book that was out there. Deadpool, Wolverine, any of those books, Siege, I would still pick this over those books, just because the image is so strong, it's so good, and it's such a hard book to find. So here we go. Fearless Defenders, number 4, the Hahn's variant in a 9.8. So that also helps too. It's at 9.8. Now, the final book here is considered an OG variant comic book. It's what I would consider to be what most people would say is either top 5 all-time variant comic book, in terms of collectability and price. So this is something that is on everyone. If you're a variant collector, this is probably top 5 for everyone. So there's very few people who would rate this book, in my opinion, not in that top 5 or 10 books of all time, because it started a lot of stuff. It's the book that really created a lot of buzz, and it's from 2002. So I mentioned a lot of books from 2011, 2010, 2012 are really expensive because of the rarity. This book is from 2002, guys. So there we go. This is the Batman number 608 Retailer Incentive Edition, RRP. So this is the Jim Lee, cool artwork, the start of the Hush storyline. So again, this is like a OG variant comic book, collecting, Holy Grail. So, and I just talked about, I'd rather have the last book than this one, only because of my collecting interest. This book right here, most people would say is a holy grail for a lot of people. Batman collectors, variant collectors, just, rare comic book collectors. This is it. This is the book that people love to, look for. It is super limited, and there's more of them out there than my last book for sure, but the demand is so high. This book sells really well. Now this is a 9.0, so this is what I'm going to say is it's still from 2002. So a lot of people don't want this book in anything below a 9.4 or 9.6 still to this day. And to me, this is a perfect example of, I just want the comic book. I don't care if it's 9.8. And I was able to secure this book because it was a 9.0. It's got white pages, so it's not, let's say, faded or whatever on the inside. But it's one of those books where, when it came up for auction, I was surprised to win it. But I think it sold early in the morning, so maybe it was a weird time for it to end. But whatever, it definitely hurt. It was because it's a 9.0. And, I think this is one of those times when this book is a rarity. You don't see it very often. And it's one of those books that, again, a lot of people have in their top, 5 or 10 books of all time from a variant perspective. So I think it just makes it where just owning it, just like my, my Mary Jane, Venom, Spider-Man book. I always forget the number, that 687, something like that. That, to me is also one of the OG books. So to me, it's like, these are the ones that people kind of gravitate towards when they see them. They have a reaction to them. The black and white Spawn book. I mean, there's just certain books when people see them, and the black Venom, number 1, they just see it and they go, oh my God, that book is so cool. And, this is one of them. So if you show it to people, they kind of like, yeah, I can't believe that they've even, most people haven't even seen this book in the real world, because it's one of those books that's so hard to find, and people just hoard them if they do get them. And so that's, why I wanted to make a video, just to kind of show off that I have picked up a couple big books, big Holy Grail books for me, first Black Panther, RRP Batman 608, that really nice Schomburg book, first Green Goblin. So I have been doing a lot with comic book collecting. I just don't do as many videos. I just kind of hoard them and then show them off on one video. So hopefully you like the content there. Like the video. Let me know if you want to see more comic book collecting videos. And I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.